every time I proposed something, President Nixon was responsive to it that involved Whitney Young, whether it was, I can recall suggesting that he attend the funeral, and he wanted to do that. And President Nixon's legacy obviously has been tarnished, having to resign and so forth, but in his willingness, for example, to inject himself into the desegregation of the schools in the South, and to ask George Shultz and a group of us to do everything humanly possible to bring people together in those states, I think was a reflection of, I don't know quite how to characterize Richard Nixon's views on these things, but clearly he knew that was the right thing to do, and he put his weight behind it. I think that leadership in a country needs to be selective about what they do. A president in any given day, they're pardoning the Thanksgiving turkey, or they're meeting with the sunflower person from Kansas, or they're doing something else. And they have to decide which one of those various things that they're doing, signing some legislation, meeting with a group of people from another country, which one of those things do they want to mark and have the country and the world note that they did? And the things they select tell the people of the country what that person thinks is important. So I think that recognizing a man who was a giant and who contributed so much was an important thing to do, to recognize that life. The comments I would hear from white people about Whitney Young was that he's someone that you can do business with. He's someone you can talk to, someone who's reasonable. He's someone who is going to put a lot of pressure on you and keep working on you, but he understood that people did have limits, and that he would push as far as he could, and then he'd push somebody else as far as he could. He was a bridge between white and black people at a time when there were big spikes of hostility. I mean, I was here in Washington, D.C. When Martin Luther King was killed, and the city was burning. The northeast part of this city was just ablaze, and the National Guard was closed all the bridges and wouldn't let people get in and out unless they had some identification that showed where they lived. There were riots, and feelings were strong in the country during the 60s. We think now that people are concerned about one thing and another, and they are, but the violence in our country during that period was real, and it was palpable. Within the black community, there were those who said he was not sufficiently militant. Right. And I didn't detect that it bothered him one whit. My impression was he knew who he was, he knew what his task was, he had a charter in his mind that he was going to develop relationships that would benefit black people in our country, and he would do it his way.